I've seen this whole crop of creators kind of like thrive off social media, and they have little to none SEO. Like they have, you look at their Ahrefs and it's dismal. You're like, this person's not a competitor, but on Twitter or some other channel, they might be huge. Now that's a huge shift from like 10 years ago. So, a huge shift 10 years ago, like, Ramit Sethi's blog was popular. You could tell like if he had a lot of traffic, he was probably big. Now, some of these sites kind of confuse me because I'm like, they have no traffic, very few links, but on social, they're huge. Is this like something that's happening that you're seeing more and more? I'm certainly seeing it.
Yes, it's completely. I used to recommend to our team early in Siege, like build your own personal website. Now I can't recommend that. And for like personal branding reasons, you can do that so easily without having a website on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. But if you're trying to build a website from scratch, I don't know if the route is to rank on search. I don't think the route is to just start doing that. It's probably to do what you mentioned, is build a brand first. Mm-hmm. Like I think of Mr. Beast or something. Mm-hmm. He probably could now build this really powerful SEO thing if he cared enough to do that, simply because of the brand he's built on this other site. But if he'd gone search first and then tried to go that other direction, most of the time it doesn't work. So I would try to build a brand and then leverage that brand to rank on search. If you're going the other direction, you're probably like thinking about search a little too directly, and you ironically won't rank on search because you won't build a brand. You need the brand to rank on search.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember like back in the day, you would build a blog and it would take years of writing, and then maybe you could sort of connect to people, random people would find you. Whereas you can have one follower on Twitter and start connecting with Elon Musk if you want.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a
the
way
game
more.
Has changed.
Yeah, it's just different. Also, I look at Twitter. It's like it's not different than a blog. Okay, what do you do on a blog? Like you go on some platform, you type something, and it posts on a website. Well, I mean, that's what Twitter does, right? It just does it for you. And then
shorter form now.
Yeah, and then I remember like the gold standard of like a post to see if it was popular used to be like comments, right?
Yeah.
Well, now you can just like directly comment on someone's post. So it's like it's the same thing, but it's just a little micro blog. That's just to be frank, it's better.
Yeah, and LinkedIn almost allows you to go as long form as a normal blog post would go.
And I guess there's Medium to some degree, although I've never found that to be super social. Whereas like Facebook is, LinkedIn is, Twitter is.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you want to build a personal brand, just start with a social media thing. Then once you get big, start the personal website maybe, or some sort of website off that.
I think a common recommendation is to build a list. Like that's one route as well. So use social to build a list, and then it could go towards building a website as well. So that's the variable I would maybe add to that.
Do you still see like email being the big granddaddy of everything?
I'm not an email marketer. I mean, isn't it huge for you specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about to own channel, like email is the really thing we can hopefully guarantee is pretty owned, that can't be taken away from us, despite Google doing the promotions tab. Like it's gonna be ours, so that's one reason people invest in it so heavily.
I mean, every big company I've been part of, or something, let's say like talk about like AppSumo or something like that. It's when it was like 100,000 subscribers, you're just like, okay, we'll make this much money off these 100,000 subscribers. It's like, well, what if we get to 200,000 subscribers? It's like you double your money. So it's just like, okay, let's just grow the email list. That's what it seems. We're actually thinking of doing something like that right now. Mm-hmm. We're trying to figure out like the one metric that brings all boats up. And it sounds like I wish it was a different one. I wish it was like grow my YouTube bigger. It's not. It's the email list size. It's just that simple, it seems. Yeah,
but that's how Brian Dean Backlinko grew as well. Like he did so much manual link building, and then suddenly his list size got so large because he invested so much in that that was one reason he stopped needing to do it, because he just hit publish. People saw his content, and he doesn't even really care about Twitter, even though he has a big audience there, because his list is like it's just many multiples more click through rate. It kind of reminds me of something recent I saw with like political stuff, like Andrew Yang ran for like the governor of New York or whatever. He's like 2 million followers. So people thought, because everyone else had like 10,000 followers, the other candidates, but it was like other people that just totally beat him. And one of the guys had a great quote, and he was just like, social media doesn't vote. People with social security vote. And I remember thinking like most people would look at like Andrew Yang's giant Twitter list and be like, he's clearly going to win, but they're totally missing the forest for the trees, whatever that quote is. Where the audience, the buyer persona is.
It's like this. It's like, do you have a big email list? You're probably going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of what.
Oh, most people are on email in some form, no matter the audience.
Well, that was a saving grace. That's when because I don't think email gets enough love, especially nowadays, because there's other more like fancy platform, TikTok, whatever the hot new thing is. But when we went from 400 something thousand visits, a month to 400. And we still grew larger. I was like, oh, it's because of the email list. It's literally because of the email list. That is my distribution platform. Like I don't make a lot of sales off Twitter or anything, but I make them all on the email list.
There's so much power to just like resetting your mind from a vanity point of view around traffic and lead. Like we were even looking at our lead numbers, and I was just vanity trying to increase that. And I was like, only like 1/10 of these are even qualified. So why am I caring about this? But so many people do.